Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Business Innovators Radio. This is your host, Jerica Glasper. In today's show, we will discuss how to cultivate ambition amongst employees to improve an organization. I am really excited to introduce today's special guest to you all. Her name is Cheryl Johnson, and she's the founder of RWL Tech. Cheryl Johnson is a performance solutions specialist with more than 20 years of experience in coaching, learning, development, and workplace training performance. With her pioneering attitude, she has made substantial contributions in the area of learning with an emphasis on behavioral change. Cheryl has been recognized as a leader in the architecture and design of interactive multimedia learning systems and strategies. She was also published by well-known educational psychologist Michael Allen in his 2012 e-learning annual. She has dedicated her life to developing learning solutions that drive performance at work and in one's personal life. And she is also the author of Ambition, the Missing Attributes in Your Employees. Cheryl, welcome to the show. Happy to have you.
Thank you, Jerica.
Yay. So let's go ahead and dive in. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your company, why you founded it, and how you serve your clients?
So the name of my business is RWL Tech, like you said, and the two primary offerings we have to our corporate clients are called Smart Learning for Business Success, and the other one is the Ambition Quotient, and the book was written about the Ambition Quotient. Our primary goal with both programs is to improve employee performance. We believe that learning is the key to both improve performance and also to helping motivate employees so that they perform at their best. Probably one of our biggest challenges employers currently have is keeping their employees' skills relevant in an environment when technology is disrupting job roles. Yeah. As you've probably seen, the manufacturing sector has probably been hit the hardest, but I believe all sectors will be impacted significantly in the future. It used to be, you could hire somebody with relevant skills that were necessary to do the job, and with minimal training, along the way throughout their career, they would continue to do a good job. But that's changing. Pretty much who you hire today, the skills they bring to the table, no matter how qualified they are, probably they are not going to be qualified to do, what you need done in the years to come. So retraining and reskilling people will be mandatory unless you want to, constantly be rehiring new people with, to get the relevant skills you're looking for. So hiring people, can be very costly. And that's where we think Smart Learning for Business Success comes in.
I love it. And I would totally agree with that you have to cultivate an environment for coaching, for learning, for ambition, because like you said, you can hire someone that has all these skills, but sometimes there still needs to be some tweaking according to an organization's goals. So I absolutely love that you're doing that. Can you describe the difference that achieving this outcome is for a business that implements your coaching and your programs versus one that does not?
Yeah, we believe that learning is kind of the key to solving a lot of the ambition problem. But learning in and of itself kind of can introduce another problem. So people aren't always motivated to learn. They may have had bad experiences in school, or, they kind of thought, well, once I graduated and got out to the workforce, I didn't have to constantly be going through this continuous learning cycle. So we just need a lot more learning opportunities at work, and we need employers who understand that the underlying principles that motivate people to want to learn and to engage at higher levels with their work, comes from ambition, and that's where the Ambition Quotient outlines, several simple strategies that encourage ambition in the workplace.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And so what are some of the misconceptions do you believe that employers have around hiring an outside expert to come in and actually train their employees? Do they say that it takes too much time or costs too much? I mean, what are some of the objectives that you may come across, and, why they should really look at putting someone like you into their organization and training their employees?
Training costs money, and it costs time. I think you have two things that come into play. Like I said, first, the employer doesn't always want to take the time and the money to train their employees. And second of all, I've heard it time and again. I've been in many work environments where they're like, here we go again. I have to go to another training class. They find training boring. It's not interesting. It's not relevant to what they're doing. And so a lot of times the employer and the employee, find training to be basically not meaningful. But what's interesting is, people generally come to a new job with a high level of motivation, and they're excited to learn. New and novel things, generate dopamine and adrenaline in the brain, and both chemicals drive and encourage people to want to produce at higher level. Once, employers realize that people naturally tend to come to jobs with that, if they understand that they can capitalize on that and continue, that naturally occurring state of mind, that will be critical to kind of sustaining it in the future.
Love it. Thank you. And so can you share any of the examples that you have where you've helped any of your, this is an example of one corporate client, an employer that you help overcome this obstacle, this objective, and they ultimately succeeded. Their employees did, their organization did, their performance shot up. Do you have any examples you could share with us?
One of the examples I like to quote, because probably it's a very personal example, is when I first started working contract jobs and, consulting, I don't know, about 20 years ago, or I started working with college students, primarily because my own kids were college students and they worked for me. They got to work, with quite a bit of autonomy and what they considered to be a pretty good hourly wage. So, of course, they shared that information with their friends, and their friends were all like, "Oh, we want to come work for you." I was like, "Oh, let me give this a try and see where it goes." And to be honest, it was really challenging. I was really frustrated. But oddly enough, one of my best mentors was actually my daughter. She had several good ideas for holding, the contractors accountable without dampening their spirits. She explained to me that I didn't provide clear enough instructions at times, and that I expected them to do a lot of research on their own to kind of figure things out. Well, some of those contractors, they were excited to do that. Some people just kind of come naturally with that, but others weren't. So I lost several very talented people because I assumed that if you were a good contractor, you were also good at figuring things out on your own. So, yeah. So, that was kind of discouraging for me, and a lot of times I would lose people in the middle of a project, and that would be very difficult for me, and, getting them replaced or, having to end up doing a lot of that work myself. So I learned to take time, to interview the contractors and find out what their background was, which wasn't on their resume. I wanted information that, that tell me a little bit more about yourself. And I had quite a few different roles they could play, so I tried really hard to make sure that I matched them to a role that was of interest to them, because when people are working on things that are interesting to them, they just naturally have a desire to kind of learn more and do more. So that was one of the things that I personally did myself, and I worked with that model for about 10 years, and I became pretty successful over time doing that. And since that time, I've kind of tapered off in the last couple of years and started doing, taking jobs that I could do myself and working, more independently with organizations. I'm working right now on a contract where, once again, I'm working for a university, and I work with a lot of university students. So a lot of what I learned, in my own business carried over, and it's really helped them. They extended the contract for the students, and they're doing a lot of things that the employer didn't think they could initially do. And we just had a meeting with the chief procurement officer here and went over some of the projects they were working on, and he was really impressed with what they were able to do. And there's a new grant out there, and they weren't going to apply for it because these students are grant funded, and he was really excited now to apply for that grant and keep them on longer. So
that's awesome. Well, congratulations. And, experience is, as they say, the best teacher. So you learned firsthand about ambition and motivating employees, and And I really love that you're helping organizations now with their talent, with their employees. And so, you wrote a book about that. And so can you share a little bit about your book with us, Ambition?
Yeah, we call it the ambition quotient. It's kind of a three-legged stool. We say that we used to hire people with a really strong IQ. We wanted them to be really smart. We thought that was a good indicator of how successful they'd be. And then EQ kind of came into vogue, I guess you'd say. And we decided that, people who had a good, strong emotional intelligence quotient, that was another indicator of how successful they were going to be. But now we're finding that even if people are really smart and they have a good emotional intelligence quotient and they're able to communicate effectively and to be a little more resilient and that type of thing, that they still, that underlying drive, that underlying ambition to really succeed and to push the organization forward just isn't always there. So we talk in there about strategies, and I believe probably one of the most important things as a consultant, I've worked with a lot of consultants who have very complex models to work with, and they come in and it takes a long time and a lot of money, and there's a lot of change management involved. And as my book lays out, it's like it doesn't have to be that difficult. We don't need complex strategies. We don't need all of these change management programs. We just need to understand human nature. We need to understand what motivates people, like in my example. Just matching students up with something that was meaningful to them was one strategy that we use. I believe a lot in coaching and mentoring. I think there's a very strong correlation between a good coach and mentor and people's ambition at work. I believe people come to work, when they first start with a lot of excitement and ambition, but we squelch a lot of that because we just don't have confidence and trust in what they do. And so they don't feel motivated to try to do things because they're afraid they're going to make mistakes and things like that. So the book's really just a lot about understanding human nature, and it gives several very practical examples. And I tried to keep it simple and easy, and hopefully if you read the book, it's short, you can walk away and go, oh, I can do that. It's not that hard.
And so where can people purchase your book that you've written?
It's called The Ambition Quotient, and it's on Amazon right now. I'm in the process of putting it up on my website, but even the link on my website will end up going to Amazon. So right now, your best bet is to go through Amazon.
Okay, great. And I really love that. So you talk about the ambition quotient, and you have a quiz. And so does the quiz help the individual also identify what their strengths are and what their ambitions are as an employee, as well as the employer? Like, what does it identify, the quiz that you've created?
The quiz is just a lot of questions that I think help people look introspectively and say, am I doing this? And if I am, what impact is this having on the people that I'm working with? As I've gone through and talked to, I've literally worked with Fortune 500 companies, the federal government, state, local governments, universities, and just small businesses across the board. As I've asked these questions of them, they have indicated to me that those were probably some of the most helpful things that most helpful information that they received was just better understanding what drives people. And those questions are meant to kind of dig into that a little bit deeper.
Yes, I love that. And, I feel like, I'm a millennial. I'm in corporate America. I work for a Fortune 500 company as well. And I have to say that I'm more driven by meaning and by significance and impact. And yes, obviously the well-being of my family with what I'm getting paid. But what's really important to me is that, like you said, you find your place in the company and that you get that coach to grow assistance from your upper management, that it's not, this is the way it is. If you can't do it, you need to get out of here. It's okay, what can we do? Where are you? It's really identifying my strengths and my areas of opportunity. And I see that you're doing that. And I just completely love the fact that you're helping people see, the scotoma, the blind spot in their organization. Because if you can change the people, then you can change your organization. So I'm advocating for what you're doing. I really love that. And so if you're working with either small businesses all the way up to Fortune 500, what are some important questions that they should ask themselves if they're considering a corporate performance consultant to come in? Like, what are they looking for? What makes a good consultant? What are some good questions to ask?
Well, it kind of goes back to what I was talking about before, and I think it's interesting because I'm a baby boomer, but I think there's a little millennial in all of us.
Yes.
And I think we're all looking for that meaning, and we're all looking for that purpose in our jobs and in our lives in general. And I find that the people who end up hiring me are the ones that aren't looking for these very complex models and solutions that are going to take a long time and, like I said, a lot of change management to initiate. And they like the simplicity of my approach. They like, we start with the questions in the book and a lot of introspection. And do you have a good coaching and mentoring program? And have you trained them to bring out the best in your employees? When people feel like they're being heard and they're being valued, and that if they make a mistake, that they have recourse for, hey, I can go to my coach or my mentor, they're willing to take a few more risks and open up a little bit more and want to be more of a contributing member and not just somebody who shows up to work every day.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I've been blessed to work for a corporation that incorporates that coach to grow mentality. I've worked for companies that have not, and it's just, work, do this. You don't do it right, you're in trouble, you're written up, it's no give. It's just do this job and that's it. So I love the coaching aspect of what you're doing. And it's been a pleasure interviewing you today and talking about what you do and how you serve your clients. How can someone find out more if they're wanting to either set up a consultation with you or learn more about you on your website? Can you share with us how someone can get in contact with you?
Sure. My primary website is readwritetechnology.com, which is READWRITE technology, so it's readwritetechnology.com. And then there's it's just Ambition Quotient. It's not the Ambition Quotient, just ambitionquotient.com. And the other one is smartlearningforbusinesssuccess.com. Each of them kind of outlines each of those programs that we offer.
Great. And so if you are listening, you want to get in contact with Cheryl, please do. She has incredible training programs and can help any employer get their employees motivated so that they can improve their organizational performance. And you can also purchase her book on Amazon. Again, the name of the book is Ambition, The Missing Attributes in Your Employees. Cheryl, I want to thank you so much for joining us today on Business Innovators Radio. It has been a pleasure, and I wish you nothing but success in your continued journey on impacting employees and employers.
Thank you, Jerica. I appreciate this opportunity.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.